What's up, everybody? Welcome back to DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com, part of the Medium Large Sports Network. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined again by old friend Sebastian, usually writing for the website, hopping on the podcast and the video with us today. Sebastian, we appreciate you hopping in. It's been about a month since the Dodgers won the World Series. Has it set in for you that this actually happened yet?
Yeah, thanks for having me back on. It kind of has where I think for me, I'd come to grips with like, okay, like, hey, we won last year. I saw one in 2020. Like, I'd already kind of accepted like the fact that maybe they wouldn't win, and then once they did, it was like a way different feeling than even 2020 and 2024. It was like you're just playing with house money, so it's set in. It's just like part of me still just can't believe it a little bit, but
Totally.
yeah, it's been.
I go back and watch Game 7 highlights and can't believe that it's happened. But what we're going to talk about today is that after this, there has been a lot of talk about the Dodgers spending and the direct line or lack thereof between that and winning a World Series. This kind of all started when Jason Kelce went on his New Heights podcast and said, quote, "So you're telling me I'm supposed to get excited about a Canadian baseball team and a team that just spends more money than everybody else? That's why baseball sucks. You just buy World Series championships. It's the dumbest thing in the world. It's exciting that the team that spent the most money and everybody knew was going to win the World Series won the World Series. Everybody knew this was going to happen before the season. We just had a bunch of meaningless bleep happen before it, and then it happened. So, yeah, no, baseball is not getting my stamp." That was Jason Kelce's take. I love that Stan Kasten, Dodgers president and CEO, clapped back. He said, "First of all, history demonstrates that's not true. Usually the team with the highest payroll doesn't win the World Series. I hate to throw facts at him, but I will throw one quote from someone in his city, and that's Bryce Harper, who said the only people complaining are losers. I think he's exactly right. What got us to the position we're in, the position of being able to have lost the World Series at any point in the World Series 20 different ways, was because, yes, we had a high payroll. But those people need to be led and developed, and we need to be backed up by a farm system that is productive year in and year out. Without that, we couldn't compete. And just buying a World Series, a World Championship, if it were true, more teams would certainly be trying that approach. It's not true." What are your thoughts, Sebastian, on this idea of buying a World Series championship?
First off, I don't like either of the Kelsey brothers, but besides that point, like obviously what Stan says is what I believe to be true. Um, but in a funny way, like it's semantics, but I think the Dodgers can't have like anyone can buy a championship, but it's not what people think of like the payroll, right? Everyone puts the payroll. It's investing in your facilities for your players. It's investing in people for your front office, your player development, your scouts. And that's what
Yeah.
the Dodgers do. Since they have bought a championship because they're willing to invest all this money and to ensure that what Mark said about like the entire organization as a whole has to work together. Because he said that you have to guide the players and all that kind of stuff and develop them. So spending the money to have the organization work as a unit towards that goal is in a sense buying a championship, but not not when you're just pointing at payroll and saying, "Oh yeah, you pay all these players." Like obviously that's been proven wrong time and time again. Like that doesn't guarantee it could help out a lot. It could give you a pretty good shot, but it's not like it's the furthest thing from a guarantee.
Yeah, I like what you say that, sometimes it's the money that's not spent on payroll that might give you the greatest increased odds to go and win the World Series. I broke down the last 5 years worth of numbers. I did more than that, but we'll just start with the last 5 years. If you look at the five teams in each of those years that had a top five payroll, so the top five payrolls in 25, 24, 23, 22, and 21, there's 25 teams. Of those 25 teams, Sebastian, how many of them do you think made it to the LCS? Was one of the final four teams in Major League Baseball out of 25, the top five spending teams each of the last 5 years. Of those 25, how many do you think made it to the LCS?
I'd say like probably I'm counting the Dodgers and then I'm trying to think of who else. So like maybe like seven.
Yeah, it's a great guess. 8 out of 25. Eight. So you had,
There
if
we
you
go.
were a top five spending team, you had a 1 in 3 chance of making the LCS, just making it. How many teams of those 25, so 17 left, how many of those 17 left do you think missed the playoffs entirely? If you had to guess.
I know. Yeah, I know that's going to be pretty. Not all of it, but it's going to be pretty sizable. I'd say like 10 maybe.
9. So you had, if you were a top 5 spending team the last 5 years, you had a greater likelihood of missing the playoffs than you did of making the championship series. The Dodgers are the only team. Here's one other stat. The Dodgers are the only team with a top 5 payroll to win the World Series in the last 7 years. In the last 7 years. Now they did it twice, but that means the other 5 years, the highest, the top 5 spending teams, none of them won a World Series in any season except for 2024 and 2025. This, to me, Sebastian, is where I come back and say, no, you can't buy a championship. As Kasten said, of course, you can give yourself a greater likelihood of making the playoffs. The Dodgers have done an incredible job of recruiting great talent. They have the best coach in baseball, one of the best coaches of all time, in Dave Roberts, best manager, I should say. And they have a great development system, a great farm system to sort of cover all those things. But once the playoffs begin, it is a crapshoot. It is a crapshoot. And so the idea that you can buy a championship, to Kasten's point, Sebastian, history completely undermines this take. And I love, to quote Bryce Harper, the only people complaining about this are losers.
Yeah. I mean, that probably sums it up best you can right there.
Yeah. And again, I'm not here to say, like, hey, the team that has the 30th highest payroll has just as good a chance of winning the World Series. Nobody is saying that. But I think where I ultimately land on this, Sebastian, is you've got to be in the top 10 to really like be in the mix. Like there's teams outside the top 10 that have come out. I mean, even in the last like 7 years, I think only the Dodgers twice as the top spending team. And then I think like there was one team that was 6th and one team that was 7th. So 3 of the 7 last World Series titles were won from outside of the top 7 spending teams. It's worth pointing out. I do think you've got to be in that top 8, 10, 12 to kind of give yourself a real chance to be in there and not to have like a miraculous run. But once you get in there, it does feel like you're buying some lottery tickets. You're getting into the postseason, and there's a level of randomness to it that no amount of money can really control.
Yeah. And like kind of to my point earlier where, yeah, maybe not everyone could get to the top 10, but like if you like allocate at least a little bit more into like everything else that helps make a team, like I said, like player development, like your facilities, that'll give you a better shot to like maybe you don't have to have a big payroll because you're finding really good young players and you have them under contract on cheap contracts and stuff. So yeah, you got to go a lot more deeper than just the surface level payroll.
Yeah, look at the Rays. That's exactly what the Rays have done. To your point, if you take $20 million and say, hey, instead of going and signing, Devin Williams or Edwin Diaz to $20 million a year contract, and we're going to invest $20 million in our front office, in our player development, in our scouting, I'm going to just say this real quick. Those guys make less money on the whole than some of these Major League Baseball players do. But if you can identify talent in the draft, in the international free agency pool, and if you can develop them better than anybody else, or at least in the top 5 or 6 teams, the way baseball is set up with, team control for as long as it is, you can really maximize those guys. That is where the system is designed to be basically a level playing field. And then you can go get a leg up with drafting and with development. Because the system is set up for the Dodgers to not be able to develop players the way that they do. And yet every year they have the top farm system. And it's not because they're spending more money on international free agency. There's now a salary cap to that. It's not because they're getting top draft picks. They're forfeiting draft picks and drafting at the end of the first round, best case scenario. And yet they go find the Dalton Rushings of the world. They go find some of these guys in like the 3rd round, the 7th round, the 11th round. Jack Dreyer was an undrafted free agent. Every team in the league passed on him a million times. And yet the Dodgers sort of identified him because his agent called them, but then they developed him and they got him to the place where he is. So I think you make a great point, Sebastian. If teams would invest their money on that side of the ball, so to speak, it feels like there would be a lot more bang for your buck and a lot greater chance of competing with the behemoths of the sport.
Yeah.
So let us know what you guys think in the comments below about Jason Kelce's comments. I think I can predict what most Dodgers fans are going to say about those, as well as Stan Kasten sort of clapping back and saying the only people complaining are losers. That is Sebastian. I am Jeff. Folks, enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the food. Enjoy family. We will see you soon. Enjoy the rest of your day. As always, go Dodgers. And yes, still champs.